TikTok, the apocalypse don't stop, this week on The Hapless Heroes.
Is it hitting any one of our eyes like a certain food item?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Hapless Heroes podcast. I'm Francesco, and I am your host and DM on this what might be a very explosive episode of the Hapless Heroes podcast. With me, you know them, you love them, are my wonderful cast of characters. To my virtual left, we have Dave playing Zero, Valen's Avatar of War.
Good evening.
Mike as Lord and Captain Quinn Southwind.
Always at my service.
Nicole as Boris the Butcher.
I'm still cheering for Scissorhands.
Zach as Pregnart.
Hello.
Phil as Hedrick the Entertainer.
I'm all tuned up.
And John as Lord Jarrell the Light.
No time to rest before the apocalypse.
Yeah, so speaking of which, it's the night before the apocalypse. The morning of the apocalypse. Not really entirely sure.
The eve of the apocalypse.
It's the eve of the apocalypse.
The dawn of the apocalypse?
Y'all are trying to... Well, we left off last episode kind of like with a lot of stuff up in the air, right? Because you guys were running through your list of plans and how we were going to approach this thing. And you found out that somewhere in the next 4 to 5 hours, there's going to be like a sort of a celestial convergence, and those conditions would be perfect for a ritual of magic varieties. And given what you know about what happened around this time, it probably is not a good thing. But you also are scheduled to appear in court tomorrow morning as well, so it's just kind of confusing. It's like, man, will you even ever have to get tried for the crimes in which you've committed?
Do we ever?
I
mean,
we'll
it's really, would the trial ever actually reach its conclusion?
Right.
Would I allow the trial to reach its conclusion?
So were there any other actions? I feel like that was the last thing we kind of left off on, was some debate, and I just had to cut it short a little bit. Of like, I know that Hedrick had an idea to potentially try to scry on the kid if that was possible, but I know there was some resistance to that idea. Was that kind of shot down at this point? Are we done with that? Or was there anything else anyone was trying to do before we move on to the morning? Right?
Well,
are you guys staying up all night? Like, are you?
Yeah, I think we might.
What's happening?
Yeah. The robot
no
that
long rest.
requires no sleep is going to be just peachy.
You guys can take a short rest. That would be perfectly appropriate. So whatever you would benefit from a short rest, you can do so now.
2-hour scheduled maintenance it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely I don't get spells back, but I get my inspirations back.
Pregnart's going to use this short rest to make some chocolate pudding.
That's perfectly appropriate.
This is going to use the short rest period to acquire a tree from somewhere, like a small, like a tabletop-sized Christmas tree type tree, and she's going to decorate an Apocalypse Eve tree at the dining table.
You know what? I'm sure there's probably one somewhere in the hotel.
Yeah, she gives another gold bar to an attendant, and poof, comes back with a tree.
I'm surprised you would even pay for it, honestly. You probably could have swiped it off a table and no one would have noticed.
But I mean, it's the apocalypse, so whatever. She's being generous.
Sure. That's fine. Who cares, right? It's not like that gold's coming with you.
Yeah, it'll appear back in my pocket next goldfish.
Next goldfish. Sure. Yeah, absolutely. You decorate yourself a little apocalypse tree. What does it look like?
Like a Christmas tree, but decorated with things that Boris already had in her pockets. So a hand mirror, there's a lock hanging from it, there's a couple of soaps shaped like seashells, a couple pieces of stationery. There's some kitchen twine wrapped around it. A couple of random jewels and a couple pieces of previously magic but now broken like clock faces.
Nice.
Very apocalyptic.
I'm going to use my inspiring leader. Everybody gets 20 temporary hit points.
Ooh.
And I was looking at it. It says creatures cannot benefit this until they finish a short or long rest. I assume that means I can use it after a short rest or a long rest. I'll look it up. I just want to make sure because it doesn't say you can only use this so many times. It says a creature can't benefit from it until they take a short or long.
So it is like you give us like some sort of speech or, and then we
He's probably playing music.
and then we rest, or right?
Yeah,
It's
it
like
sounds
kinda-
like we
it's
have to
while
take a
you're
nap to
resting.
get it to set in. Yeah.
Right.
It's like it's while you're resting, like that he's like inspired. It's part of what he does. It's like, all right, it's time to get on with our mission. Everybody, you are bolstered by my absolute confidence. Okay, so all that happens. We did it. It's been about, I don't know. I mean, you guys are just waiting it out. Are you like, is there something that you're looking to do, or is there something you're sort of waiting? Are you just kind of waiting for an
No.
explosion, or
Well-
what's you looking out the window? Like,
After our short rest, what time is it?
yeah, I guess we never really established time. So really, I'm
It
more
wasn't
looking for you
midnight
guys.
yet. It was
It
getting
was not
late.
midnight yet, but it was approaching midnight. I think it was about 10 p.m. when you had started.
Okay. My suggestion would be that we maybe go back to that park out front of the area that Ebenezer's house was.
Yeah, I agree with
And obviously we can't hide everybody, but maybe we can make some way to make us look not super obtrusive. And should the kid leave somewhere between midnight and 2 in the morning, we follow him. And if he doesn't, well, then we'll figure it out from there. But maybe it gives us an idea if he leaves his house. And, he's going to have to leave his house to do this. I don't think he's doing it from inside his own bedroom. Unless him deciding to do it from the wrong place is what caused this, in which case that we are literally a self-fulfilling prophecy. I'm prepared for this in my head.
Well, it's midnight.
that. We would definitely want to be in the park a little before midnight if possible.
The park, or
Outside of the gates of where his house is.
okay, yeah, like in that, like near that gated community. Okay,
We don't know that the gate's the only way in and out either, but hoping it is.
it seemed like it when you were working your way through. I think Boris was trying to case that herself.
Yeah, there were no
Yeah.
external entrances to get into the towers or anything. They were all from inside the community.
Yeah, we're going to assume that our 12-year-old security-minded professional did a better job of finding secret exits than the 12-year-old non-security-minded person who lives there.
Hey, I'm 13 now.
Yes.
Possibly
I thought
almost
Boris was actually getting on
14.
I think Boris is actually 14.
I think we were discussing, depending on how long she's been adventuring at this point with everyone, she may be 14.
Okay, well, those 2 years absolutely confer the advantage you need, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Because I know.
So, is there like you guys are just heading out from the Garden Inn now to head up towards?
Sure, why not?
If I was
Okay.
still dressed like a girl guide, I put my dark armor back on first.
Your actual armor,
my
like
sneaky
your actual
armor,
stealthy person. Yeah, sure.
Zero is also traveling in full war gear at this point, because, what's the worst that can happen?
Make sure you have that fish locked and loaded, Zero.
Yes, that's the other thing. Well, I was intending on doing this at the park, but now's a good time because I like strolling with it. We're going to reload the fish and whatever water is in the bowl into the mug of the boss once more. I can't refresh it to a different title, so it still is World's Best Barrister, at least until the afternoon.
That probably could still be helpful for you, depending on the situation. So you exit out into the streets. It's much quieter now. I mean, there's still the activity of just a large metropolitan city of this era. Like it's not like it's just dead quiet all the time. There is still some activity going on, but it's just much quieter at night here. So the streets are also less busy, but with these, there's only some streets, like they have like these like little like oil lanterns every so often, but they're not like, and like some magical lanterns as you're kind of getting closer to potentially where the tower is. But the streets are dimly lit. You still have some people walking up and down. These neighborhoods are relatively safe where you are, but it also means that you're a little bit more conspicuous than normal, just because a crowd of people or a group of people walking together is a lot more noticeable at this time than it would be in the middle of the day when there's a lot of foot traffic. Are you all approaching as a group, like walking down the streets up towards this community?
No.
No, I think we should branch off, keep the stealthy people together, away from the people who are going to be obvious distractions. At least that way, one of us or part of us can remain hidden.
Okay. So the way that the kind of street looks in front of this, you have like the gate that's kind of in the middle as like a curved wall, and then beyond that is the community. There's like a cobblestone like walking path, or just like street that stretches. It's sort of like a T intersection where like the castle wall, right, or these gate like walls are at the T, right. The apex of that is where the gate is, and then the streets go in either direction, and then they'll kind of wrap back and head back. There's a park up towards the north, or towards the west, and that's where you guys were hanging out. You, Zero, Dedrick, and Pregnart were hanging out in the park. That's a few blocks to the west.
Dedrick.
There's like it's mostly just houses and smaller buildings around here that kind of are outside of the gate. There's not a ton of places to just like stand and hang out. Not really a lot of public like hangout space near here. These are just kind of residential streets.
Who do we have then who is not stealth, hidden, or otherwise obscured?
Definitely me.
Ragnar, you're sneaky.
I can sneak.
Fantastic. Zero's going to capitalize on his lab coat, and he's going to make sure that he is in a relatively close follow to Pregnart. And he's going to, since he doesn't really have a free hand, he's going to just take a little field notes guide and kind of like staple it to his left forearm and occasionally take notes on it while clutching the mug of the boss in the hand nearest to it. And just, muttering things like, and curious, as he follows Pregnart around.
Wait, what was this
Zero,
mug again? I forget what this mug does.
The mug of the boss?
The mug of the boss.
Anyone who reads it essentially... Well, go ahead, Dave.
Yeah,
I'll let you read it.
Every 24 hours I can make it say world's best something. Someone who looks at it has to make a wisdom saving throw at 15 or better. If they do not pass that saving throw, they absolutely believe that I am the world's best whatever I claim to be. There are a few very Michael Scottian drawbacks to it.
However, I don't think any of those potentially apply to... Well, actually, no. The one that would apply to the world's best barrister is that you spend a little too much time volunteering.
Yes.
So, that's what you're doing right now. This is all pro bono. You're not getting paid for this.
No, I am entirely off the clock.
Yeah. Fantastic. Okay. So that sounds great, Zero. Just because I love making people roll dice, and for no particular reason, can you just make me a performance check?
Let's see, that is a 14 plus I'm sure very little since, 13.
Fantastic. I mean, it's not the
I'm
worst.
highly charismatic.
It's not the worst. I mean, it's convincing enough that you are appearing humanoid as best as you can. Okay, perfect. So we have Boris and Hedrick and Quinn, the sneaky ones, and actually even Pregnart. So Jarrell, what are you doing then? Since it's pretty much you and Zero sticking out like the sore thumbs of this group. What are you like? You see him acting and looking all official. Like, what are you doing to quote unquote blend in? At night.
I'm not sure really what he can do. Like he's got.
That's why I'm so curious.
Yeah. I guess just trying to like stand next to like the closest unoccupied looking building near us, and maybe if there's some shadow or shade that I can hide myself in.
These are just houses with like pretty small front lawns.
Yeah.
Like it's a slightly more dense like residential area.
But I would probably just try to stay as far away as possible while still being able to see the gate.
Okay. So you like what, like stand like a half a block away or something like that and just kind of like meander on the streets?
As long as I can tell where the gate is and I can kind of have a general sense of where the rest of the group is, yeah, probably.
We'll put you about 100 feet away then or so.
Yeah.
Okay.
At least, I'd say.
Good. Everybody else who's sneaking, you make me stealth checks, please, and I'll just call your names out to get the numbers one at a time. This is one where the numbers are important to hear, so I see some celebration. This is great. This means that you guys are actually going to be successful, and I'm going to make Jarrell possibly have to deal with being inconspicuous, if anything, because that's fun for me.
Mike, you were right. I am glad I rolled that one earlier.
Get rid of it. Use it up.
Surprised I rolled a nat 20 to do the opening. And I was like, fuck, that's like the only one I'm getting tonight. Just rolled a nat 20 on the stealth check.
So did I.
Yes, the bards. All right, so...
Like the two people that didn't need a nat 20 on this probably, but...
Hedrick's doing the tiptoe with his lute, just with the plucking. Bloop, 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 with each little step as he's sneaking along.
I love it so much, yes. So, okay, we got Quinn and Hedrick with nat 20s. Beautiful, wondrous. Boris?
Boris rolled an 18, which with her stealth bonus means 33.
Great.
Boris is on the roof of the closest house to the gate. Nobody knows how she got up there, but she is on the roof.
Sure. And Pregnart.
It's a 17.
Oh, okay. Everyone's pretty sneaky. I'm just gonna roll a couple.
Oh wait, Pregnart is stealthed?
He said he was going sneaky.
Oh, okay, good. Then I can I roughly pull the field notes pad off of my thing and shove it in my pocket and just start sauntering around with my coffee mug.
Oh, great. Just walking the streets like, oh, I'm just having a nice little evening stroll at midnight.
Yes, it's actually quite a lovely evening, at least as far as I know. I mean, I'm not like rusting or anything, so it's a win.
Well, I think it makes perfect sense. You already explained that automatons need no rest. So if you wanted in time of day for activity to do whatever you wanted, nighttime would be perfect because nobody else is out. You don't need to sleep anyways.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a bit of a hanger queen to the tune of about, 8 hours a night, but, such is what it is.
Okay, well. It's the same sort of situation you saw before when you guys had arrived here earlier in the day where you have the guards up in each, the two towers and then a couple outside the gate. You notice, though, that there are a couple extra private security hanging about. There's actually extras in the tower as well as extras on the ground, probably after the alarm was sounded earlier today at the Ebenezer, or at the Blackwood residence. Wonder who that could have been.
Does this look like an entirely new shift of guards, or are there still the two guards?
Yes.
Okay.
But I mean, yeah, you would have remembered from earlier. You were a little out of sorts, when you had popped out of the place. But yes, You don't recognize any of the guards currently here.
Correct me if I'm wrong. These are like city guard.
Like these are private security.
These are private security. Do any of them look like they have any distinguishing rank or sort of uniform?
They definitely are wearing like a uniform. They're like it's like a padded coat, and there's like they have like just like some symbolism on their like their shoulders, right, like on their arms, of their coats. You can see that there is like beneath the coat like they have like like this. So it's like it's something that's sort of covering like a breastplate of some kind, and they're all armed with various like either one or two-handed weapons.
But we can't distinguish any sort of rank. They all seem to be about the same.
It would be hard to tell from this distance, honestly, depending on where you're observing from, right? If you're just if you're all just kind of staking out, just trying to stay sort of inconspicuous or whatever. I'm not I wouldn't say you're like right up on them where you can possibly read what kind of, if they have like that kind of information displayed on their uniforms.
Yeah, it's not like he's got a red shoulder pad.
Yeah, nothing so obvious. Like you would have to get closer to really examine that.
Okay.
But it is the distinct lack of anything obvious like that makes them very clearly private security versus employed by the city. But it's pretty quiet. I mean, they're like some of them are just chatting amongst each other. I mean, a couple of them look a little on edge just because like you can almost overhear some of this because the streets are a little quiet. You can overhear some of the gossip of them, like just pick out a couple words here and there, talking about the alarm that had happened earlier, and saying like you really think that someone wants this kid dead? I don't know, man. All I'm saying is that they said that there was possibly an assassin in the house. Well, keep our eyes peeled. Just like casual conversation, like they're definitely a little bit on edge, just because like they seem to be under the impression that someone had been sent to, or someone was attempting to murder Ebenezer's son, Filbert. But all is quiet. So we're gonna just kind of start passing time, right? Because no one's really doing anything active right now. Y'all are just kind of waiting to see, because right, your whole deal is you're waiting to see if Filbert shows up and like tries to get out or walk out the gate here. So we'll say an hour passes. Not much changes. Some of the lights in the street are getting a little dimmer. That's about it. We're about 1 a.m. now, right? Past another hour, it's about 2 a.m. At this point, the streets are a lot quieter. Anyone still standing in the street, Jarrell, 0. At this point, you're probably the only one standing in the street. The lights are out in most of the houses that are surrounding you. Like, are you like what? I mean, Jarrell, you're far enough away that the private security is probably not going to care too much about whatever the hell you're doing. But 0, I'm not sure what your plan is here, because you're still kind of just hanging out in the streets at 2 a.m.
Yeah, I mean, I was probably going to loiter more towards the park area. Not that that's any less conspicuous than standing out in the middle of the street itself.
Yeah, but there are more benches and stuff
Yeah.
like that close by that you can sit down at, but that you would be out of visual range of everybody here, but might be able to hear if something loud happened.
Yeah, all I need really is to be like within audible range, even if not visual range.
That's
We're
fair.
counting on the folks with stealth to probably be able to get into the advantageous positions to perceive things. I'm really here to react when something happens.
Okay. So yeah, you're kind of like shifting in and out of sight, just making sure that you're not drawing any attention to yourself. I'm going to say that it's pretty quiet. The guards are more concerned with anybody trying to get into there. No one seems to be making any active rush, and everyone else is just kind of observing quietly.
If Jarrell looks up at the sky,
Mm-hmm.
what are the stars doing? Is it looking any more convergency?
Why, yes, Jarrell. What an astute observation. Would you like to make me a perception check to see?
Okay. Damn it. Come on. 4.
Okay, I will tell you what is glaringly obvious,
Mhm.
and that is that the moon is beginning to now cross into like where the beam of unending light from this ley line is just shooting up into the air,
Okay.
right into the sky.
Uh,
It's like they are starting to cross over now.
yeah. Jarrell will turn to 0. Perhaps this isn't the place we should be. If it's so close with just what I'm seeing with the moon, the convergence could be at any moment. He might already be there. There's no guarantee we're going to see him walk out now.
You're right. The only guarantee we have is that we should be able to reset at the end of this and take whatever we know back for the second go round. Even if all we learn is that he's not here, that's still valuable.
Do you think we should try to go to where the convergence is happening and see where he tries to conduct this foul ritual?
Not the worst idea, but exactly where in the area where we think that might happen is he going to be?
It could be in multiple locations. Narrowing it down might help us for next time.
The inanimate voice from beyond the fourth wall would like to remind you that the last 2 times you were within the campus of the tower, capital T, and where the ley line is, y'all were kicked out twice.
Yep.
Just a friendly reminder from the voice in your heads. Carry on.
Do you think we can signal for the others without raising suspicion?
If one is to do it, I don't think I would be the one to do it. Not in a particularly subtle mood.
I'm assuming that between Jarrell's armor and Jarrell's sword, they can make a pretty loud clink, right?
Yeah.
Jarrell's gonna tap his sword against his shin guards 3 times and then stop and see if anybody picks up that he's trying to signal them. It's probably the only noise in the night air at the time.
I was gonna say even if you do it lightly, it's still like pretty audible to anybody nearby.
Yeah.
If Hedrick can notice this, he's going to cast message and whisper to Jarrell. What's going on? What do you need? You can reply to this.
It is my opinion that we might not gain any more information at this current location, and perhaps we should try at either the school or the ley line at least one more chance before we have to just accept the fact that this world is about to explode.
Well, okay. I'll reconvene with Boris and Quinn. I'll let you know.
Don't involve Pregnant.
Don't involve me in what?
How did he get into this mental message?
Conversation. You
know what? You know what? No. You know what? I love this because Pregnant. Do you have message as well? Is that a spell you have?
Yeah, I do.
Perfect. You tried at the same time. You have been trying to message like either Jarrell or Hedrick, and you've tapped into now a 3-way call.
Perfect.
Oops.
Does anybody want to have a pizza party?
The line's still open to the 3 of you. Like all 3 of you are now connected to each other. Like this line is open until someone closes it.
Pizza parties are always better when you're celebrating something, Pregnart. Maybe we should just...
Hang on, I have to put you on hold.
And Gerald's like
Okay, I'm back.
dancing along to the old music.
Don't involve me in what?
You are involved, Pregnant, but going back to the school. Be quiet, though.
Yay. Can we sneak into the splash pad?
Maybe not this time. If we avoid trouble next time, we can spend a whole day in the splash pad.
Maybe if we prevent the apocalypse?
Yes, for certain.
Yes.
Okay. Well, 3 of you know what the plan is now. Boris, what are you doing? You still just quietly observing on a rooftop?
Yeah, Boris has been basically watching from that roof towards where Ebenezer's house is, like, the whole time.
You saw, or you heard Jarrell, clink his sword against his shin.
I would have glanced
3
at
times.
Jarell when that happened, but then continued to watch towards the house to keep looking for anything else going on.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't appear like. In fact, what you do notice is that all the lights are off, and from pretty much every house on the street, including from what you can tell from here, the Blackwood residence.
Can I see what would be like the bedroom, the kids' room from up here?
A little harder to make out from here, from your vantage point, but you can make me a perception check. See how eagle-eyed you are. Because his bedroom was at the back of the house.
23.
23. Yeah. You can't see through walls. But it would appear that if you're looking at like the window that would have, like the windows that would have led to like that top sort of like foyer area where the balcony was, there's no lights in those windows.
Cool.
But you can see that at least on the first floor, the shutters are drawn as well. So it would be hard to tell if there were any lights on inside.
Okay.
I mean, the house was locked down all day ever since the incident, so.
I mean, if Boris can't see anybody else moving, she's still staying on the roof until she notices everybody else start to walk towards the school, at which point she'll follow.
Well, they're probably walking towards Jarrell. Quinn, what are you doing? You heard Jarrell clink his armor? Are you moving towards him now, or did you just kind of ignore what he did? You weren't clued in on the message, right?
No, yeah, I have no idea what's going on with that. Quinn has just kind of noticed these kind of purple billowy things coming from sides of the buildings. I don't know if they're like decorations or whatever, but he's just been like floating through them because his jacket billows purple, and so he just is kind of blending in with these decorative
tapestries.
Drapes. Yeah, that seem to be flowing from some of the buildings, and he's
but what you're really doing is just posing in front of them.
Exactly.
With your cape open.
Correct.
So that it's like,
I'm like, it's like a Darkwing Duck kind of like, I'm just like there, right? But I do.
You are the main character. You are the main character in your own story.
Oh, absolutely. Sure. Yeah, exactly. I do hear the clanking, but I just assume that it's just Jarrell being klutzy like usual and making noise.
All right. Well, sorry. 4 of you know what the plan is. Do you 4 just start walking away together?
Yeah, I think that Jarrell time is of the essence at this point.
Hedrick will try to cast message to Boris if he can spot her on the roof, or Quinn if it's.
Can you?
Whoever
you may have to make a. I was gonna say you may have to make a perception check if Boris is not trying to be seen. Boris, are you intentionally trying not to be seen by anybody, or would you make sure that you were visible to your party members? Because I'm leaving that up to you, because your stealth check was essentially a 30.
Unbeatable.
33. Yeah, no, Boris is trying to be stealthy. She doesn't want to be seen. The only brief second somebody might have seen her is when the clink happened and she briefly looked at Jarrell. That would have been it, maybe a head turn. if somebody caught that.
If you really wanted to see Boris and fill her in, you will have to make me a perception check then. Just because she is deliberately trying to be stealthy from everything.
Sure. A little bit on the description. At no point does it say I need to be able to see the target.
Oh, then never mind. Go for it. Send her a message.
It does say that I can cast through solid objects if I'm familiar with the target and know it is beyond the barrier. So I do need a
I don't
general
think she's
direction.
beyond a wall.
But
I mean,
I'm just
she's
on a roof, right?
Okay.
Of like a small house.
Yeah, that's good enough. That's
Okay.
good enough. I'm not going to make you persuade me any further. That's fine.
Okay. Boris, I think we're about ready to move on. There doesn't seem to be anything happening here. I'm not sure this kid's going to be walking out the front gate anyway. So, Jabril, Pregnard, and Zero, and Quinn, we're all going to kind of try to make our way out of here.
I'm glad I'm part of the plan, but still don't know the plan.
Well,
You're just last on his call list.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just gonna be let known the plan.
Yeah.
Last time we were invisible together, Hedrick was under the impression that you were right next to him. And you were not. So he was talking to you and assuming that you were hearing. I think that might be happening now as well, where we seem to be having this group call and he thinks
Love
you're
it.
in on it.
Love it.
Boris is going to get down from the roof, not actually respond to the call, and do it stealthily. So I can roll another stealth
Nope.
check.
Don't even
Is this part of the
don't
same?
even worry
Okay.
about it. Your reliable talent guarantees you get a 26, which means I feel like you made it up there. Getting down is a lot easier.
Cool.
You're very light on your feet.
Yep. So she like sneaks.
We can
down.
yada a lot of checks for Boris, unfortunately. Well, not unfortunately, but just like, it's just how it's you are a very reliable talent. That is literally what the ability is.
I think Fran just let slip the fact that he wants us to fail.
Excuse me? I want you to
Unfortunately.
succeed. I just don't want it to be a breeze for you. I'm just here to introduce.
Unfortunately.
I'm here to introduce barriers for you to then overcome and feel good about after you've overcome them. That's my
And I
job.
save. Yeah.
I'm
that
responsible
makes
for your
sense.
sense of fulfillment
Mm-hmm.
to a certain degree, but also my own. So, what fulfills me is that the party is all together, and you guys are heading back towards the tower, which is quite a long walk, because not really a lot of wagons running at this hour to take
Right.
you to and from. Probably going to take you a good 20 to 30 minutes on foot.
Quinn, in case there are guards or something along those lines at the school, would you suggest us going invisible? Would you want to make them fall asleep? How do you suggest we best get past them without hurting them, if possible?
Oh yeah. Let me step in right here.
Well, I would like to just hold on, because the question was directed at me.
But yeah, and he's and what Zero is saying is, I'm gonna let you finish, but
Yeah, Zero. His eyes ablaze red.
What do you mean past the gods?
In case there are some. I'm not sure if there will be at this hour.
Well, I thought we were just watching.
Are we
Do you
not trying
not
to
know
stop
how
anything
guards work?
today?
Wait, is there a plan I don't know about? What?
I'm just kind of winging it at this point, really. I think that Boris is planning to take his hands off at some point.
What are you yabbering about? I have no idea what you're
Miles.
talking about.
You're
Quinn was
unaware
not
that the
right on the
apocalypse
plan.
is about to happen in the
No,
next.
I
I don't
know
know.
that's going on, but what are you talking about getting past the gods?
We're going to the school
It's a
What?
worst.
When did we decide that?
because that's where the convergence will be.
You know, to be stealthy requires us to be quiet. Why are we talking in the middle of the street?
You're the one that's yelling.
I'm just confused.
Speaking of which, let me just arbitrarily roll some dice. Okay.
Quinn steps
we're
back into the
still-
shadow of one of the drapes.
You're walking away from the drapes now. it's not like every single house is decorated in these drapes. You just happen to find a really nice set
Yeah,
of matching drapes to
exactly.
your cape.
He's just swooshing his own cape.
But like you're walking away from that now.
But where are we going?
Again, they said to the tower. They did tell you just now.
Okay.
Quinn, how much longer could you guess until the convergence is actually fully in effect?
Yes, you do know the stars.
That would require me to do some calculating.
Make a navigator's tools check with your intelligence.
And he's proficient with it.
Yes, so intelligence bonus plus proficiency bonus on your d20 roll.
One moment.
Yes, Michael. Is there a problem?
I'm trying to remember. So my lucky feat allows me to re-roll a roll.
Uh-huh.
So I'm going to re-roll this roll. But I have to take the new roll.
How many times have you used your lucky feat since your last long rest? Have you been tracking that?
I don't think I've used it at all, actually.
Okay.
I don't remember him using it.
I haven't used it in a while.
Okay, we're just checking.
I've actually had some really great rolls lately. That is much better. That's going to be an 18.
18. We're looking at probably in the next hour and a half to 2 hours.
Okay, that's good.
I relay that to Jarrell.
That eases my mind a bit.
Okay, so a half hour goes by. And you make it to close to where you would be able to enter into the grounds of this, other section of this like walled off city, right? Because each, like I said, it just kind of comes out in this big circle. And the place is, when I say swarming with guards, it is swarming. There are barricades put up. It appears as though the actual grounds for the tower have been barricaded as if they are preparing for a fucking invasion. If you recall, the journal is in the possession of the Bush Journal. Was partially successful in that the investigator who confiscated the journal did confiscate it and took it with them.
This is good. This is good. This could help us.
Zero puts both of his hands up and just stops dead, shakes them a little bit. Right now, his right eye is red, his left eye is silver. He's looking a little weird. We have a hypothesis.
Oh, you both do. You and who else again?
Morden, Zero. We have an understanding. That notwithstanding, we've been mulling this over for a little bit. So we seem to have mucked things up in the school to the point where there's a lot of guards going on here, right?
We unquestionably mucked things up in the school, yes.
Yes. We've also mucked things up in the Blackwood residence to the point where they have extra guards outside of there, right?
Yes, we certainly did mess that up as well.
And we've also mucked up the young boy Filbert's plan in that he no longer has the tools necessary to perform the ritual as planned, right?
We can only hope.
He can't get to where this ritual would need to be done unless he were already there. And we know for a fact that he isn't.
We're pretty sure for a fact he isn't.
We know he's already in his own home. Because he's been there ever since we mucked things up in his home.
It's so long as he didn't leave before, we decided to spy on him for 2 hours.
And so long he doesn't have a spell that suddenly gets him there.
It's 100% possible we've already averted the apocalypse.
Jarrell looks again at the sky. Does it look pretty?
I mean, yeah, it's the moon is large and full, and
Is it hitting any one of our eyes like a certain food item?
Would you call it Amore?
I wouldn't say that.
Is it time for a certain kind of party?
No. But I would say that, I mean, there's something just awesome about looking at, like, obviously a celestial body, and as well as like this massive column of pure energy that's just,
How often?
shooting up.
How often does this particular convergence happen? Do I know?
Do you know? No, you didn't read the journal.
I didn't read the journal. I'm just curious if this is a known historical event in terms of the convergence itself, not so much the apocalypse that's going to happen within the next hour or so.
I mean, yes, based on information that is shared with you, this is something that does happen, every so often, but it is a very rare event. Yes.
Zero would like to make a history check based on the fact that he has access to enough historical knowledge to know, regardless of having read the journal.
Go for it.
And he's got
17 plus 6 is 23.
23. I mean, something like this is like one of those like once in multiple century, like maybe once in a millennia type events. Where a lot of things just seem to line up just right.
Right.
From a celestial standpoint, happenstance, but there is sort of a from what recorded history could show us, there was at least one other event like this, like 1,000 years ago. From this date, like give or take, like it's not exactly 1,000 years, but like roughly like that time period. Before that, there wasn't really much of recorded history to be able to document such an event.
We've crunched the numbers, and we can say with a high degree of confidence that such an event will not happen again in Filbert Blackwood's lifetime. This was his chance.
Well, we can only hope it goes the way that we think it might go. Jarrell turned to Quinn. How much longer until it actually hits, and then how long will it stay that way?
Well, you just heard that, it was going to be an hour and a half to 2 hours. You spent a half hour walking, so an hour to an hour and a half from now.
And then how do we know how long this will last for?
Yeah, is it like an eclipse where it only lasts for a few moments?
Well, would I be able to calculate how long the moon would be in that like orb of energy?
Well, it's not just the
I
moon.
mean,
it's already in it. It's
Right.
just that it hasn't reached like sort of the
zenith.
apex of
Yeah.
exactly that perfect zenith of like
With all the
everything
other
perfectly centered.
With all the
However,
other
I mean,
stuff.
it's hard to tell because with some of those celestial bodies being so far away, right? Like your only reference is the moon, and now this ley line as well, right? And like some of the other stars that are in the sky. So it could be, a few minutes. It could be like 30 minutes. Like I mean, like it's not going to be a very, very long time where this potential like convergence is happening. But
I suggest that we simply wait and see what happens. And if things start to go off in there, we charge in with the rest of the gods and hopefully they allow us. If not, we just eat the fish and maybe a little bit into the explosion because I'd like to see how that plays out.
That's exactly what we were going to say. If we're wrong, we go again. Either we win now or we win later.
Well, there are only so many laters.
Yeah. But we'll burn those bridges when we get to them.
We've only used one, right? Oh, we've done it twice. Okay.
Oh, we only used one. Yeah. We were here, then we used it. Then we're here on this go.
Right, this is our second try.
Yeah. The first one was very quick.
Yeah.
Well, so we just kind of
Yeah,
wait here in the street and wait for the fireworks or lack thereof?
Ooh, there's fireworks?
I wonder, do we have access to a balcony that has a good view of this ley line?
Not unless we break into one of these buildings.
You know, actually, a few blocks away from here, there is a, we'll call it like a pub that's open late that has a rooftop patio.
Well, there we have it, right?
Sure. I guess there's
And
no
let's-
other way to watch either the end of the world or not the end of the world and a really great celestial happening.
I mean, is there anywhere else we would see the world end?
In a pub?
Okay. Well, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay. Shall we prepare libations just in case?
No reason not to.
Sure, fuck it. It's the end of the world, right? Or maybe, as you say.
Pizza?
Yeah, Javril, you want to
Yeah,
create
they have pizza.
40 pounds of pizza for the bar?
The bar also has a wood-fired oven where they can just make pizza and you can pay them for it.
If I were to create the pizza, would it be cooked already?
I think that's up
But
to
it's just
you.
rude to bring your own
and
pizza to a
technically-
place.
And also, you're making 45 pounds of pizza.
And money
And
doesn't
chocolate pudding.
It seems gauche.
money doesn't matter right now because we just get it back once we swallow the fish.
Oh, I took create food and water off during the last long
Oh
rest.
no!
Yeah.
What?
There was a long rest in between when I created the food and water and now, I think. So I yeah.
Mhm. Oh well.
That's fucking bullshit. Well, that was the best spell you had.
You are able to order libations, and you have your pizza delivered to you as you sit on the rooftop bar. And you're just kind of staring up towards like the moon and this ley line and the stars. You know, not a ton of light pollution these days, so like you know, the cosmos are very visible. It's quite a beautiful night, very clear. And this column of light that's just sort of blasting out into the heavens is sort of this like really beautiful sort of golden color. And it seems to almost be like pulsating and swirling, right? It's just sort of like the longer you look at it, the more it's just like you kind of see it sort of very fluid, almost fluid in its form. It's not just like a column of light, but it almost feels like it has like, I don't know, a certain characteristic or quality that makes it more than just light.
Is there anyone else who seems to be aware of this convergence? Like, is there any sort of like star junkies, you know, that just love astronomy?
Yeah, I mean, there's some people who are like, you know, also just drinking and enjoying themselves and just kind of oohing and eyeing at like this like celestial event. But like a lot of there's just as many people who are probably scared and locked in their homes because they're just afraid of like, you know, things like this. They just don't want to look up, and you know, I've known plenty of people who just like panic when they look up in the sky sometimes. But yeah, it doesn't really seem to be, I guess, as much attention being drawn to this as you think for something so significant or so seemingly significant. At least here, but yeah, there is. It's just quite pretty. You know, the hours pass, and eventually you see, you know, the moon reach where the beam is perfectly centered. And there's this very brief but very audible sort of like almost bassy like pulse. Not like super loud, not like very intense, but just like you just kind of feel it. Like just sort of this reverberation. And you see like this pulse of energy sort of come up from the base of the ley line where the structure is supporting it, or built around it, I should say, right? And it just kind of shoots up towards the sky.
Get that fish ready, Zero.
Mm-hmm. Somebody be on standby, by the way, in case my stomach, for some reason,
To
doesn't
dig it
count
out
as
of
a
your
stomach.
stomach. Yeah.
Pregnart just opens his mouth at this point.
The moon is now sort of enveloped in almost like this golden aura, as it takes on almost the properties and the light that this ley line was exhibiting. It just begins to shimmer. And then, well, not much else happens right away.
Right, no way.
Because you're kind of just standing there staring at it, and everyone's just kind of like, oh, wow, oh, ooh. But as the minutes pass, the moon stays exactly in that position. It does not deviate. It does not move further. Those minutes turn to like 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and the moon is still exactly in its spot as it was before.
Now,
perfectly
is this
centered.
just how it feels, or does somebody have like a chronograph?
Well, Quinn's been tracking this, and he's been kind of relaying sort of the changes to you guys. We've kind of sort of established, right? He's been measuring the stars, and at this point, it should no longer be
Where it is.
like these celestial bodies orbit things. Like this should still continue to be orbiting.
Is time still moving? Like, can we still see like guards shuffling around and other people in the bar moving, or is like literally everything frozen?
No, you guys are fine. Like the people around you are still acting relatively normal, but like everyone's just kind of like, oh wow, like this has been going on for a while. Like, this is kind of crazy.
What
There's some of
time
that
in the morning is
commenting
it?
that's 2:30, maybe 3 in the morning now.
Okay.
Actually,
I wasn't sure
Is
if
the
we're
light
getting close.
changing in the sky?
what's that?
I'm sorry. What time did you say it was?
About
About 3.
2:30, 3 o'clock. Yeah, about 3 o'clock at this point.
Now, the moon is not changing, but are we seeing any evidence of like dawn occurring?
Because we're probably about 2 hours from dawn, 2 or 3 hours from dawn.
Yeah. So, I mean, no, especially with the horizon, like, even just from this rooftop, there's still a lot of buildings and other things, as you're in a very large metropolitan, like, area. So, it would be kind of hard to tell if something was cresting over the horizon necessarily at this hour. just
Quinn,
yet.
Yeah.
are the other stars moving?
Are the other stars moving?
You don't even have to make a check, Quinn. Yes, you know.
Okay.
They are. Slightly. But
So
things are moving.
I relay to Jarrell, everything seems to be normal except for the moon. The moon is the only thing that seems to be in its place.
And probably the other planetary objects in the
Wait,
convergence.
Quinn, make me a check with your navigator's tools again, please. Another intelligence check.
20. Not a natural.
Okay, something is off about the way things are moving now, though. Whereas
Okay.
things were sort of looking like they were, rotating, right? So you can clearly see the rotation of the sky. Now things look like they're spinning.
Oh,
So
like
it's
we're moving with them.
So it's almost as if like it's the same panoramic view, but it's just being rotated, like
Okay.
slowly. So instead of it shifting horizontally, I guess, is from like your vantage point, like,
So
staring up into the sky, it's now moving circularly.
would I be able to make an inference in the sense that we are the ones moving rather than like, because I mean, like scientifically, I'm thinking like we are shifting.
Something is
And that's
shifting.
why-
Something. This
yeah.
is nothing you've ever experienced
Right.
before. Looking at the
Also,
stars.
I'm not quite sure what you're talking about, because like the stars in the sky do rotate
Mhm.
around, like they do optically rotate around the
I mean,
North Star.
yes, to a certain degree, right? But I mean, you can still tell, like you can still like tell the Earth's rotation, right?
Yeah,
like
I
when
think
you, like
what-
when you're looking up,
Right.
when you're looking at the view of the sky, like the Earth, you can still measure the Earth's rotation with that. Like, yeah, it's not because we're on a tilted axis, right? But like, you can there's still like the axis at which we rotate on doesn't change.
Now the convergence
So, like-
has like one solid
Right.
bar in which point, we're getting dragged.
It's very clear that the axis of which you are referencing, like the axis of rotation of which you are referencing when you look into the sky, has changed to a point where it is now like unmeasurable because you've never experienced conditions like this before and you have no idea how to measure this.
So instead of it being the North Star as my point of reference, my point of reference has changed, more or less.
Correct.
Yeah.
Because now that's moving in a way that's like, it's like everything is, it's literally moving a different direction. Things are rotating a different direction.
Yeah. This is interesting.
And probably not good.
And that's where I'm going to call this episode of the Hapless Heroes podcast.
God damn it.
Hey.
I know, audience, you hate it when I do these cliffhangers, but I mean, come on, you've got to come to learn to expect it by now. So, if you love me, if you hate me, you can find all of us, including myself, on the internet, on such places as Twitter and Instagram. Just look for @HaplessHeroes. We're also on Facebook and Reddit. Just look for Hapless Heroes Podcast. Those places will also point you to the mecca of our social media presence, and that is our Discord server, where you can meet, interact, hang out with us, come say hi, come hang out with our awesome audience in there. We're talking about D&D. We're talking about delicious foods we're cooking. We're talking about our pets, all the things. So yeah, we encourage you to join that community. It's super awesome. But if you really like us, you can leave us a 5-star review or rating on the podcast service of your choice. Helps us grow in the ranks, get more visibility, get us exposed to a larger audience, and however these algorithms work. So yeah, any and all support of that would be appreciated. And if you just want to say some nice words to us, but your podcast service doesn't offer these things, or whatever it could possibly be, we also have a 5-star channel in our Discord, and also an email address haplessheroes@gmail.com, where you can say some nice things, and we'll say some nice things back to you on the air when we see those words. Just like Goledian on our Discord server says, the boys and Boris have made my insanely long and rarely interrupted shifts at work not only bearable, but almost looked forward to. Dave clearly shines in his role as a DM, but seems to prefer taking a backseat role as a player, and Fran actually grows every time he steps behind the screen, and I love watching every moment he does so, especially when he learns sometimes the lore is going to end up on the cutting room floor. As a player, he has no issue keeping in the center stage and being verbal and active for better or worse for the group. That is very true. That is my fault. This is a very honest review. This is a very honest observation. I appreciate that because it's very true. I don't know when to shut up sometimes.
Also, seemingly not explicitly a 5-star review.
It's true. And I love that. I love an honest review.
Do we get a star ticked off here?
I don't see any stars here, but it's the 5-star channel, so we're assuming 5 stars.
All right, this is a 0-star review.
All right.
Dave, we got our first hater.
Hold on. Well, I mean,
saying nice things about
listen, hold on, because they follow up and say, the group's amazing and revolving cast keeps the progression and banter fresh and diverse. I'd love to see more active roles from some of the cast, but not everyone wants the limelight. Thanks to all of you. Here's to 4 more campaigns and the Netflix original movie. Cheers. Thank you for your honest and kind review. I think that was very constructive, and I really appreciate that.
It was constructive. It was fair. It was accurate.
Yes, I no notes. Anyways, thank you. So, if you really, really like us, though, we encourage you to donate to our Patreon. It's patreon.com/haplessheroes. Got a bunch of rewards on there, and just ways to say thank you for helping us keep the lights on, essentially, and supporting us. And it's just really a beautiful thing. I don't know. I hate asking people for money, so this is always such an awkward segment for me. But you know what? To each and every one of you patrons, you're the best. Thank you for supporting us for so many years. We hope to see more of you in the future.
And if you like us, right now you like us, Sally Field, and the whole deal, take a bicycle and bring it to an aquarium and go around to all the little fish tanks and say, hey, Mr. Fish, do you need this? Do you need this bicycle, Mr. Fish? And just keep going around talking to the fish, And when an aquarium attendant approaches you and tries to eject you from the aquarium, they say, listen, I get what you're doing. It's not funny. These fish obviously do not need this bicycle. And you'll say to them, that may be true. None of these fish may need a bicycle, but you, Zer, you need to listen to Hapless Heroes podcast, an original D&D campaign. And they'll say, leave, get out of here. I've had enough of you. And that tears it. That was the needle. That was the straw. That was the needle straw that broke my camelfish back. Leave.
I mean, that's just guerrilla marketing at its finest right there, folks.
Yeah, it's great.
I'm sure you'll get them to be intrigued enough to actually listen from that,
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I guess there's nothing left for me to do then besides outro this wonderful cast for you, starting in reverse order the way we came in, with John as Lord Jarrell the Light.
Until next time.
Phil as Hedrick the Entertainer.
You spin me right round, baby, right round, 'cause we're in the past. Right round, right round.
Zach is Pregnart.
Pizza, pizza, pizza.
Nicole as Boris the Butcher.
Play It's the End of the World next.
Mike as Lord and Captain Quinn Southwind.
Everything's spinning, and it's not because of the alcohol, I don't think.
And Dave as Zero Valen's Avatar of War.
We bid you good evening.
And I'm Francesco, I've been your host and DM. We'll see you next week when we resolve this cliffhanger? Question mark? Bye now.
Bye.
Bye.
And there's no more,
No amore.